Elmer and the Dragon, words to know. Shallow, not deep. The boy's in shallow water. Limber, flexible. This woman is very limber. Toehold, a small space where a person's foot can be put to support them. Brook, a small stream. Trilled. Well, hello. It's time to read a little more of Elmer and his dragon. Today we're going to read 3 chapters because these chapters are pretty short. So the first chapter is called The Sandbar. Here we go. The fog rolled along the sandbar and out over the water, and suddenly Elmer shouted, "There, behind you! Look at the pretty little green island!" "But Elmer, I can't move!" "Oh, Elmer, I hurt all over." The dragon grunted and groaned and strained and struggled, but he was too stiff to move at all. "Elmer, do you really see dry land not far off?" "Nice! Nearby green land, and the water is shallow all the way. Are you sure you can't move?" "I'll try again. Oh, how silly of me. I can't even see land after waiting here for it all night in the soaking wet water," complained the dragon, glaring at the miles of ocean before him, which was all that he could see. Elmer walked around the dragon's head and pretended not to notice that he was crying. "Elmer, I guess I am not much of a dragon. A little storm comes along and forces me down, and I stand in a little bit of water for a little while, and it makes me so stiff, I can't even move a single muscle." "That is not at all true," said Elmer. "It was a big storm, and you stood in a lot of cold water for a very long time, and besides, you're only a baby dragon. You're not used to flying these long distances. And just as soon as the sun dries you off, you will be unstiff again. Here, have another lollipop." "Thanks, Elmer." "But you'd better get unstiff pretty quick, because the tide will come in, and you'll be up to your stomach again in water." No, whispered the dragon. "Well, I'll hang on your neck to see if it'll bend," suggested Elmer. He jumped up and caught the dragon's neck and dangled on it for a moment, and then both he and the neck thumped down to the sand. "Ouch!" groaned Elmer and the dragon. "Now can you see the land between your legs?" The dragon carefully curled his head under to look, and then he shouted, "I see it, Elmer! It's really there! What a lovely little dry island! Now help me limber up my right front leg." Elmer pulled very hard on the dragon's right front leg until it would bend. Then he worked on the left front leg, and then the back leg, and then the other back leg, and then he went around and started all over again with the right front leg. At last the dragon could turn around and walk. By now it was getting hot, and steam rose up all along the dragon's back as the sun beat down on the water-soaked wings. Elmer started for the island, and the dragon hobbled slowly behind. They went along the sandbar as far as they could, and then they waded into the shallow water. Elmer was still wearing his black rubber boots, but the dragon muttered, "Oh, I hate oceans," as he splashed along stiff-leggedly. Finally they came to the pebbly beach of the tiny island. Above them rose a cliff, and green vines hung over the edge, making a pool of shade. Elmer and the dragon sat down and ate 15 tangerines, leaving 43 more in the knapsack. "I wonder who lives on this island," said Elmer, wiping his mouth on his sleeve. "Think there's a path over there. Come on, let's go explore." "No, I'm afraid I'm going to have to rest a while longer," said the dragon. "My wings are still wet and heavy, and I'm awful hungry. Tangerine peels don't really fill me up, and I'm terribly thirsty, and maybe I'm going to faint." "Then you rest here in the shade while I go up to look for food and water," said Elmer, as he picked up his knapsack and went off to follow the little path. Chapter 4, The Island. The path wound between boulders on the beach, and then rose steeply through a crack in a cliff. Elmer scrambled up, bracing himself between the rocks walls until he found the next toehold. Just as he thought he could go no further, he found an old log ladder going straight up to the top of the cliff. Somebody must live here, he thought as he climbed up the last rung and then sat down. All around him rose beautiful tall pine trees standing in rows. And he said, "Trees don't grow in rows all by themselves. These pines were planted here by somebody a long time ago." Elmer ate 4 more tangerines and then started through the pines to look for food and water. At last he came out into a sloping meadow. He saw a brook winding its way down the slope, and he ran to take a long, cool drink. "The dragon will be happy to see this," he thought. "But I do wish I'd find somebody to tell us where we are and how we can get home." He followed the brook up the slope into an old apple orchard. Some of the trees had rotted down to stumps, but they had been planted in rows too. Elmer didn't see anybody anywhere, so he followed the brook back to the slope to a place where it made a pool of clear, cold water. He stooped down for another drink and found an old wooden bucket carved out of a tree trunk. This bucket has been here for very many years," he thought as he scraped the moss and the weeds off. "Maybe nobody lives here anymore." Elmer left the bucket beside the pool and followed the brook through the ferns and bushes until it turned into a swamp. "Skunk cabbages and ostrich ferns all over the place!" yelled Elmer, who was worried about that hungry, thirsty baby dragon. He quickly pulled up 6 skunk cabbages and ran back through the bushes to the pool. He dipped the bucket half full and threw in the cabbages and then hurried through the meadow to the pines and the dragon. He knew he couldn't go down that ladder with the bucket so full, so he crawled to the edge of the cliff and he peered through the vines. There was the wilted baby dragon snoring in the shade. "Dragon! Dragon! Wake up! I've got water and skunk cabbages just for you!" The dragon slowly opened one eye and looked up at Elmer. Then he quickly opened the other and said, "Where?" "Right here in this bucket, but I can't bring it down to you. You're going to have to let me pour the water down your throat. Are you ready?" "Ready," said the dragon, tipping back his head. Elmer aimed and poured, and the dragon drank. Then Elmer threw down the cabbages one by one, and the dragon caught each cabbage in the air, laughing and crying at the same time because he was so happy and hungry and thirsty. "That's all," said Elmer, "but there's a lot more up on this island, and ostrich ferns too. Can you fly up now?" "Ostrich ferns? Oh, I'd better be able to fly," said the dragon, stiffly flapping his gold-colored wings. He hobbled along the beach and gave a little jump and then fluttered up to the top cliff. "I'm not the dragon I used to be," he had to pant, "but I'll get you home, Elmer. Don't you worry about that." "Oh, I know you will. I'm not the least bit worried," said Elmer, although he had secretly hoped to find people on this island and a boat that would take him home, and all sorts of good things to eat. Chapter 5. Flute, the Canary. Elmer and the dragon rested a while on top of the cliff, watching the waves spreading out over the sandbar. Suddenly, a little voice chirped. "Oh, you're Elmer Elevator, aren't you?" Elmer was too startled to answer. "Aren't you? Of course, it has been 3 years, and people do change." Elmer looked all around, but he couldn't see anybody. "Yes, I'm Elmer, but who and where are you?" he asked. "Look up in the tree above you. It's me. It's Flute." Elmer and the dragon looked up, and there it was. Flute, the canary, a funny little flute with 2 black eyebrows and 1 black feather on each wing. "Oh, Flute, how glad I am to see you. How did you get here?" I flew here the day you let me out of my cage when your mother went to answer the doorbell. This is where all escaped canaries come to live. It's called Feather Island. But what on earth are you doing here?" "Well, I just rescued this baby dragon, and he was flying me home. Only we got caught in a storm, and then we landed here instead. And now he's got to rest and get plenty of food and water before we can go on." "Does he eat canaries?" "I should say not," snorted the dragon. "Only fruits and vegetables and lollipops." "Oh, that's a relief," said Flute. "I almost didn't talk to you because the rest of the canaries were afraid. I'll I'll just tell them everything's all right," said Flute, and he trilled loudly in every direction. Soon canaries were chirping all over the island, and the pine trees rustled with their fluttering wings. "Let's go eat," said the dragon, who was bored and still hungry and thirsty, so Flute flew down and rode on Elmer's shoulders as they walked through the pines. "Tell me, Flute, do people live on this island?" asked Elmer. "No, just canaries." That's what I thought. Well, how have you been getting along without my mother? She's never stopped worrying about you." "Quite well, thank you," said Flute. "But I'm beginning to suffer from the island disease." "What's that?" "Well, I know it sounds silly, but the whole island is sick with curiosity, and old King Can is actually dying from it." "Who's King Can?" asked the dragon, becoming somewhat interested. "He's the king of the canaries, and he is really called King Can the 11th. His ancestors, King and Queen Can the 1st, were the first canaries to ever live on this island. They came with a party of settlers, but the settlers sailed away after a month or two, and they left King Can and his wife behind." "Now I understand about the ladder and the bucket and the pine trees and the apple orchard," said Elmer. "Yes," said Flute. "They were all the work of the settlers. But to continue, migrating birds often stopped by here, and King Can became lonesome. So he told them to ask all the escaped canaries to come live on his island. But even after many canaries had come, he was never well or happy. And when the other birds asked why not, King Can would answer, 'I'm dying of curiosity.' Pretty soon the other canaries grew curious to know why he was so curious, but he told the reason only to his oldest son. And so they all got sick with curiosity. Finally, King Can the 1st was a very old canary. He did die of curiosity, and his eldest son became King Can the 2nd. "Skunk cabbages! I smell skunk cabbages!" interrupted the dragon right in the middle of the story, because by this time they had come out into the meadow. "It's right over there in the swamp," said Elmer, and the dragon lumbered off to eat and drink cold water. King Can the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th all died of curiosity as very old canaries. And now King Can the 11th is sick with it too. And the rest of us are sick. I tell you it's an awful thing," continued Flute. "Yes, I suppose so," said Elmer. "I wonder what they could have been so curious about." "See, there you go, getting curious. What a great day it will be when this island gets over the plague of curiosity." "Well, maybe I could help King Can the 11th, suggested Elmer. "If he weren't curious anymore, then nobody else would be curious to know why he's curious, and everybody would just get well again." "That's right," said Flute. "Let's go see the king. He lives in the biggest tree in the forest." Elmer yelled to the dragon that he would be back soon, but all he could hear was loud munching and drinking noises in the bushes. Well, that's a mystery. I wonder what the king canary is so curious about. Now I'm curious. What do you think he's so curious about? What could drive a canary crazy? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Have a good day. Bye-bye.